Good afternoon. The date is April 9th, 2009. This is the deposition of Cindy Anthony being taken in the matter of Zenaida Gonzalez versus Casey Anthony. The time is 1:26 p.m. and we're on record. Counsel, please introduce yourself.
John Dill, along with John Morgan and Keith Mitnick, representing the plaintiff.
Brad Conway for Cindy Anthony.
Court reporter, please, for no witness.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Please state your name.
Cynthia Marie Anthony.
And you have a daughter named Casey Marie Anthony, is that
Yes.
correct? And then had a granddaughter, Kaylee, as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions about the time period before and leading up to your granddaughter's disappearance. And then we're going to go through some other questions, okay? So right now I'm going to ask some questions, particularly about the household and the setup of the household, who lived there during the time period, let's say about March or April of last year. Okay?
Explain to me the relevance of the question regarding the civil lawsuit with Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, please.
Ma'am, the attorney may have told you we're going to ask questions in this case. He's the one who objects. I need you to answer the questions because we've noticed this case. We've subpoenaed it. So if you can do your best to answer me. But I will say this. If you don't understand what I've asked you...
I'm not understanding what you're asking for the relevance.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, I'm just asking
No,
the question.
I appreciate that, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
We'll try to make this quick if you can just answer what I do ask you. If you don't understand what I asked you, not why I asked you something, but if you don't understand what I've asked you, let me know. I'll be sure to repeat it.
Okay.
In other words,
Please repeat the question.
Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Let me tell you a couple other things first. I might talk confusingly a little bit, maybe too fast. If you don't understand me, let me know, and I'll re-ask it. But if you do answer one of my questions, I'm going to assume that you did understand it. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. Let's go on back to about March of last year. What house did you live at?
4937 Hope Spring Drive.
And who lived there with you?
Casey, George, and myself, and Kaylee Marie.
Okay. Tell me a little bit. How many bedrooms was the house?
We have 4 bedrooms.
And did Kaylee Marie have her own bedroom?
Yes, she did.
During that time period, was it your understanding, and this is in the beginning of last year, was it your understanding that your daughter Casey had a job?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Where was she working, to your knowledge, at that point in time?
To my knowledge, Universal Studios and Hard Rock Cafe.
And that was something that she told you during that time period?
Yes.
Did you ever learn from any other source during that time period that she was working there? In other words, did somebody from the Hard Rock Cafe ever call her for work? Did somebody from Universal ever contact the house?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so the only source of information would have been from your daughter. Is that fair to say? From Casey?
Yes.
Okay. And you also knew some of your daughter's friends, is my understanding.
Some of them, yes.
Amy Huizinga.
I never met Amy Huizinga in March. I didn't know Amy Huizinga until July the 15th of 2008.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. So of Casey's friends during, let's say, the early time period of last year, of Casey's friends, did you ever hear from them anybody mention where, in fact, she worked?
I didn't talk to Casey's friends.
Okay. So I apologize. Let's take a second. Do you want to go off the video record for a second? Okay, I apologize. Let's just keep going.
This is still not relevant.
Okay.
Not relevant.
Okay. Let's go.
So my understanding is what you're telling me is that Casey's the one who told you that she had a job back during that time period. Is that correct?
That's correct. I actually was with her when she met her first boss back in June of 2004.
All right. Now, but I'm talking about in 2005.
I had never had a reason to believe she did not still have her job, which I did have knowledge of that she did have a job.
And that first boss was who?
I can't remember his name right now. It's not on the tip of my tongue. I'll probably remember it before this is over, though.
I'm sorry, what year was that?
2004, I believe, is when she started. Okay. It's the year before Kaylee was born.
Now, did you or your husband claim Casey, your daughter, as a dependent on your taxes?
No, I haven't claimed Casey since she was 18 years old.
So it's fair to say that she paid her own taxes or should have paid her own taxes?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever see any documents coming in, like a W-2 to the house?
Yes, I have seen a W-2 form.
Another thing I should have told you earlier, and I apologize. I'm going to ask the question. You probably know what I'm asking you. But because we want to make this clear, let me finish I appreciate what you're doing, but let me finish my question, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so back during the 2004 time period, are you saying you saw a W-2 come in?
Yes, I did.
Okay, how about in 2005?
I don't recall.
Okay, don't recall seeing it. And how about going forward from there, 2006, 2007?
No.
And then 2008?
The only reason is because that was her first W-2, and I actually helped her with her taxes. I did not need to help her do that after that year, so that's why I would not have had a reason to look at her.
But on that point, after 2005, did you ever see her doing her taxes?
No.
Do you know if she ever received a tax refund?
All I've seen was a H&R Block card from her.
All right, so as far as, let's go back now to the period when she was taking care of Kaylee and there were issues about babysitters. I just want to focus in on, your understanding was that she had a job that was the same job of the boss that you had met back in 2004.
Yes, similar.
Similar. Okay, was it at the same company?
Not really, because she never worked for Universal Studios. She worked at Universal Studios. These were companies that were contracted by Universal Studios.
Okay. Have you subsequently come to learn about when the last time was she actually did, in fact, have a job?
I can't remember the exact date.
Is it fair to say, though, that you've come now, at this point in time, to find out that she did not actually hold a job at Universal Studios back in about a year ago or so, back in March of April last year?
She never worked for Universal Studios.
Okay. Did she have any job that you're aware of now in March or April of last year where she received a paycheck?
Yes.
Where was that?
Through where my son works.
And what's that?
Click and Park.
I'm sorry?
Game Day, Click and Park. I'm not sure the exact name.
All right.
But I know she did receive a paycheck because she did help him.
Okay. How much did she receive? Do you
I
know?
have no idea.
And what was her position?
She just helped him with some of his work on the Super Bowl a year ago.
Okay, so that Super Bowl a year ago would have been in, obviously, end of January, early February. Other than helping your son, Lee Anthony, are you aware of any other payments or source of income that she would have been receiving last year?
Not to my knowledge.
So is it fair to say your understanding is that she did not have a source of income, certainly from Universal or any of those other entities associated with Universal, back in 2008?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, your husband has testified, and we've heard from him about who watched your granddaughter. And it's my understanding that she lived in your house, of course. And did you help contribute for feeding her and clothing her, all that type of stuff?
Yes, I did.
All right. Paid medical bills, I assume?
No, I never paid. I think I only paid one medical bill for Kaylee, and that was right after Kaylee was born.
Okay. Is it fair to say that you were involved actively in raising her?
Yes.
And my understanding is you work full-time.
Yes.
And where was it you were working back in 2008?
Gentiva Home Care.
And what was your position?
I'm a nurse manager.
And do you have a certain shift that you work?
I work day turn.
Is that 7 to 7 or?
I could go in at 7:30. I could go in at 8 o'clock. I could be there at 7 o'clock. Just depend on what time I wanted to be there. But usually there at least by 8:30, and then till 5:30, 6 o'clock, or whatever.
Is that a Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday.
Okay. And home health nurse is what you are?
I'm a nurse manager in a home health
Okay, I understand.
company.
And so there's night shifts and then there's day, and that's
Not in my company.
So just day shift.
Not for what I do.
Okay. And your husband was also working back in 2008, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was his job, let's say, starting from January through December 2008?
I can't remember. George has had a couple jobs in 2008. I can't remember what he had.
There were periods of time, though, that both of you were working, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at the times that George wasn't working, would George be actively involved in the watching of your granddaughter?
George was actively involved with Kaylee when he was working and when he wasn't working.
Right.
We both were.
I wasn't clear on my question, so let me clarify it, and I apologize.
Okay, I thought you were finished. I
No,
apologize.
that's okay. When I'm saying when he wasn't at the office or wherever he was working, and he was at home, would he be the one that was in charge of watching her and babysitting for her, taking care of her?
If Casey wasn't there, yes.
Okay. Now, if Casey wasn't working during this time period and your husband was taking care of your granddaughter, do you know where Casey would have been going if she wasn't working, or do you have any information on that?
I have no idea.
Okay. Aside from you watching your granddaughter and George watching your granddaughter, and then, of course, Casey. Of the three of you watching her, what would you say the percentage was? Do you think that you and your husband watched her more than Casey back in the, let's say, before 2008, the 2007 time period?
No, I think Casey watched Kaylee more than any of us did.
Okay.